Welcome to Recovery 101, brought to you by PRN. My name is Eric, and this is Becky. Today, we are going to be talking about self-love. So I'm going to let Becky start. Becky is part of the Warm Line, as well as Respite, and just a great contribution to Promise Resource Network. So here's Becky.
Thank you, Eric. So, hi, I'm Becky. I'm going to share a little bit about my just an experience with self-love today. And honestly, when thinking about self-love, my journey has been kind of multifaceted. When I think about it, I know it's something I still struggle with, and I really started to struggle in my early teen years. And I think that's because I felt so alone in my thoughts. I remember growing up, I always felt like I had a quote unquote like broken brain. I really struggled with disordered eating as well, to the point that in my teen years I got really sick. And once I started to heal from that and I started to eat again, I was confronted with having to process some trauma. And I had gained like 100 pounds in less than a year. And due to that, I started struggling with self-harm. And I think that's because I was just really mad. I blamed myself. I was mad and angry at my brain and at my body. And it was just...
It's hard because we beat ourselves up.
Yeah, we do. And that's really like the place I was in. And kind of I know for me, kind of what the pivotal moment was after all of that stuff. I started to lose a lot of connections. I lost a lot of friendships, relationships, and I felt like I lost all those people while trying to be the most digestible version of myself. I felt like I was trying to be the person that they would like, and I had lost them. I felt like, if I was always at risk of losing people and people not liking me, I would rather them not like the genuine than the person I perceived that they would like. And I think that was kind of like the turning point with that, because I started to just like live out loud. And what I mean by that, right? And it is. And what I mean by that, like, I've always loved just out opinions. I have always had very, very strong beliefs, and then like bright colors and just everything loud and vibrant. And it's taken me a long time to just like get to this place where like that's okay. And a lot of people, that's something to be celebrated, and I think it's to be celebrated now.
Absolutely. You rock it. You do. You best version of you, period. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So we're kind of winging it. This is our first time set pauses or silence. With us because we're going to get there. A little bit about mine. Unlike Becky, I didn't discover my issues until probably 3 years ago, or I didn't even realize that I had issues. I grew up, and probably until I was 9 years old, I didn't know my name wasn't fat ass or lard ass, that I wasn't stupid. I didn't know any of this. And then going into school, there was the bully aspect, because fat, gay, and just poor social skills. So I dealt with that my whole life up and through high school. Didn't realize it was a problem because that was my norm. And that's how I lived, because, again, that was my norm. I didn't know anything different. So what that did was set me up for failure, honestly. And even though I didn't recognize that I was failing, I was making really poor decisions as far as life choices. I was a mess. I wasn't a very good functioning adult. And if you fast forward that about 20 years, I went into a relationship that was about 10 years long. It was so dysfunctional, and it was so coded, and I didn't know that existed inside of me. So when the ship ended, and through my devastation and about 2 years of self-reflection, I realized that, well, first of all, I had to learn how to be Eric by himself and not be Eric and Frank. So I had identity issues too. I didn't know who I was. So once I knew or could relate to just Eric by himself and really started getting to know myself and loving myself, I could, because then I realized that I could hang out with me all day long. I didn't need anybody. Like, I hug myself. I love myself, but it's hard. Um, and I did that probably my mid-30s. But it's an in and out thing, like Becky said. Like, for me, it's like some days I'll rock this 100%. And then there's other days where, those cassettes come back. Fat ass, lard it, dumb, stupid, all those things. They just come flooding back. And as much as I know that those things aren't true or important, it still takes a toll. So it's a struggle. It's sometimes you just have to take your time, sit back, feel the pain, and work through it. For me, the pain is from where I came from to the point where I am now. So what sucks in the moment, the end result is always good, and it's always a blessing. I'm always grateful for it. I've been very fortunate always in my adult life be surrounded by an awesome group of people, a great support system who they really helped me see what self-love is, and that I could love myself. And I wasn't all those things that I had been taught over the years. So it's hard, but it's accomplishable. And I mean, I don't know what you do, Becky, when you get in those spots where you're stuck. I don't know what your coping skills are. I mean, what do you do to get past that?
Yeah, I think I really like something you said, and you were kind of just like the fluidity of it. That self love isn't a destination. It's something that we're constantly working through, and there's going to be really bad days and really tough to get through them. And I think what's been the most helpful for me so far is just trying to accept that when I'm like back in a rough spot, that's okay. That I'm always going to struggle as someone that struggled with like self-harm and disordered eating from my childhood. It's okay if I still struggle with that at times. That doesn't mean that I'm starting from scratch or anything. Like, all a part of it too. And I think that's just a worthy part. Going through that is the really great times. And I think trying to accept that and not stay in that place and beat myself up, being in a bad place in general, that's been really helpful for me.
No, absolutely. It's hard because you're in a bad spot, but I have so much respect for that bad spot, because at the end of that spot, I always come out feeling better, and I grow from that every time. Even when I don't think I'm growing anymore, I think I'm done growing, and I want to be done growing. I do. Sometimes it's so frustrating because at 54, it's like, I'm done growing. Just let me live it now. But life doesn't work that way, and it's not about that. And like I said, at the end of the experience, it's like a rebirth, a new growth, and I always learn something new about myself. Honestly, it deepens the bonds with people. One of my biggest problems, though, is when I'm in a moment or a time, I'm a big disconnector. I disconnect from everything. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to see anyone. So it takes me longer to get out of that funk. And that's something that I know that I need to work on. So to me, that's really important that I'm able to recognize that and that become a tool for me. So that's how I deal with it. And it's just a good tool. And again, I still have the same support system 30 years ago. So that's a blessing. And I'm just really, really fortunate and grateful for Promise Resource Network because they honestly went through the same training together. And it was probably the most amazing self-reflective experience I've ever encountered in my entire life. I'm so thankful because I didn't realize I had a problem. I didn't realize that the decisions I made were based on childhood experiences. So it's been a blessing. And if I can do it and grow, anybody can do it and grow. And I think what's important is that to everybody out there, PRN, Promise Resource Network, we're a family and we're here to help guide, lift you up, whatever, to get you through your moment, your week, your weakness, your second, whatever it takes. Know that we're here. We're a support system. We're a family. And we're just going to try. We'll take care of you to the best of our ability. But we expect the same. So I'm reaching out to you.
And I think that support part is so important. And I really agree with what you were saying about PRN, especially, you know, that training we were in to remember just how opening that was for me. Not only the part self-reflection, but I felt just this overwhelming acceptance from everyone, which is something that was completely alien to me. I honestly thought it was I never thought that people could truly just accept you and not just have hateful feelings about parts of you. And I truly didn't believe that. And then when I felt just this overwhelming accepting warmth from the people at PRN, I mean, I think that was just so vital and beautiful and really a start of a rebirth in me in itself, like you were saying.
Absolutely.
And I think just support in general has been really important to me. I know when I started really trying to work on the self-love journey, though, in the beginning, I wasn't even trying to love myself. I just want to be neutral. That was as high as I was aiming. And just being able to find people with the same kind of strong thoughts as me, just views in general, that made me feel just really not alone, because I think that was such a strong part of, and a strong theme of what I was going through, was I felt so unique in my struggles in the worst kind of way, and that just wasn't true of my people's yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree when you say that this is baloney. And probably the first day I probably walked out with that thought, okay, here we are blowing smoke up our butts. And it just, I mean, I believed in it, but it just didn't seem, sincerity is an issue for me sometimes. I don't always recognize that and appreciate it. But the second day and the third day, I realized just I was with my people, and everybody was so honest. But that was part of the class. You had to be honest, and you had to bare your soul, which was, the whole class struggled with that. We did, because you protect yourself so much over the years without even realizing how much you blockade yourself just to protect yourself. So to be in a room with everybody who has let their walls down, let their guards down, and to 100% authentically show who, flaws and all, it was such an accepting environment that it was probably the most mind-blowing experience that I've ever encountered in life. After that week, after leaving, it hurt, because those were my friends, my peeps, and I was going back to another state where I didn't have that kind of support. So it was a beautiful thing. And I still think it's a beautiful thing with PRN, and I continue to grow. And such awesome people here that help you grow, that lift you up, that you can lean on. And that's what I want you guys to know, is that that's what we're here for, to help. You can lean on us, and we can lean on you. I learned so much all the time, the different people who come in and out of PRN, that it's amazing. You get to a certain point where you're young, but I think I know everything, or thought I knew everything at my age. I didn't know that I had the capacity to learn. I knew I had the love in my heart, but I just didn't know that I was going to be able to put forth that effort, and that it be so meaningful, and that it would touch me in such a way that so it's a blessing. So, go ahead. I'm sorry. No. So, folks, this is our first time. We're virgins, if you will, and we're winging it. So just bear with us.
No, I just really liked what you were saying about just mentioning how you felt like you had like anything more for you to learn. And I was oddly enough on the opposite, like the farthest extreme. I felt like, I know I had all these experiences. I know I wasn't born 5 minutes ago.
Right.
So I know that I had, life, but I this time felt like from various people been told that like my thoughts and feelings weren't worth anything, that like my voice wasn't one that wasn't told or worth being heard. And I think that was kind of what's so powerful about PRN for me personally, is like I felt like they really valued my voice, and everyone's voice seems like really just valued, and like they care. And I think that was so like, to me, was not only is there mutuality, I can't talk about being able to like grow and learn, because it definitely is a nurturing environment, but it definitely is that they about your thoughts just as much as they do you, and it's really that give and take. And that was just
it's honest, sincere, and authentic. And,
right.
You encounter so many experiences where you just go through the motions, and it's expected. Hello, how are you? Oh, I'm good. I'm fine. And it's not PRN people. How are you? They really want to know how you are. And after you've been here a minute, you have that comfort level of saying, you know what, I'm having a screwed up day. And you're honest with yourself, and you're honest with whoever's listening, and they understand it. They get it. There's no judgment. It's authentic. That's a word that I've learned to use a lot, and I hate that I use it so much because it kind of feels like it takes the meaning out of it, but it doesn't at all. When I say that, I mean it. I didn't even know that this was going to be my path when I took the class. I didn't. I knew that I needed a career change. I've always known that I've had a good heart, not trying to toot my I've just been a caring person. So I was ready to make a job change, and I didn't know what that was going to be. Had no idea it's going to be what it is today. And it's not complete. I'm still growing, and there's nothing but opportunity for me. And I love that, because I felt like I was at the end of my road. So, and it's all about self-love, recognizing that, and finally being able to embrace that. Like, I wish that I had your sensibility at your age. You're definitely much wiser beyond your years, whether you know that or not. You definitely have an soul, which is a beautiful thing. Change, and don't ever stop growing. You are well loved, well respected, awesome individual. So, and I love you.
I mean, I really appreciate that. I think I think that one thing I value so much out of you and out of a lot of people here at piano is, and I'm going to use that word again, the genuine word, because it's so fitting, and it's just I can't even convey, because I know me a few years ago would be like, okay,
so much.
like whatever, but honestly, and just like, I think there was a part of me at a certain time that I didn't believe in like people's having like just pure good like intentions and like having goodwill for anything, and then coming into a space in PRN and meeting people like you that have just full of so much love to give, like that is like when you walk into a room and you feel like the radiating like warmth off someone, like that really just, it's amazing.
And I'm going to use another word that I use so much, but resonates. Everything that you just said resonates, and it does. I don't even know how to say it, genuine, whatever you said, but it's true, and it's so heartfelt, and it's a whole new life for, and I know it's a whole new life for Becky and everybody at PRN. Beginning, we all have our tragedy stories, our traumas, and no one judges anyone. It's the pure love and pure build and making you a better individual. I thought I was complete. I thought I was done. I was resigned to not ever be able to express my love or give like that in the way that I now know that it still exists in me. And I've shared this before. As older, and I can't even, like, I'm just talking for me. I remember in my 20s, my heart was bright. It was vibrant. And over the years, from being beat down, and I felt like, and the only way to describe it is a piece of plexiglass over my heart that has scratched, torn, tinted, and I didn't realize that I could change that. I didn't think that change was attainable. And through the beauty of the Resource Network, it is. So anyone out there who doubts that or lacks, no, just doubt, it's possible to experience that again. And it's possible to have that self-love. And we're here. So just like people work for me and Becky and that love, that's what we're here to do for everybody who will accept it. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. We're winging it, folks. I'm sorry, but we're winging it.
No, I was just like eyeing in the chat over here. I didn't just
oh no, absolutely. Go ahead.
I wanted to say hi, Roberta. And I was just reading your comment, and I feel like, not sure if this is what you meant, but it really resonated with me thinking about just boundaries within self-love. I feel like that is something that is huge to me. And honestly, like the biggest thing I'm working on in this moment is just like loving yourself enough to create boundaries with people. And there's a lot I could say on that, but.
And she's 100% right. And I totally understand what from Roberta, because you have to back off people sometimes to be able to love, because not everybody is for you. So backing off sometimes is the best thing to do, and learning those boundaries. That's probably been biggest obstacle for me, because I've always just from the heart. I've let people drain me, take from me, whether they intentionally did it or not. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to put off, not to completely shut them off, but to put them at a distance for a minute while I grew. So Roberta, I 100% understand that, and I support that. I think it's really important. Honestly, that's a good thing that you're able to recognize that. So I commend you and applaud you.
I applaud you too, and it's really hard. I know for me, I'm still learning. I mean, I know how to say the word no, but just it's like allowing myself that it's okay that I know for me, I really in turn a bad person for that when it's so not true. And if anything, it is mutually beneficial to the other person to build those boundaries. And that in recent even months, weeks has been like such an eye opener for me. And I think, that's something that I still continue to struggle with, but with allowing those boundaries has really just lifted like a weight off of me.
100%. With that, a lot of times comes.
Right.
And I can get caught up in my guilt and just that bad feeling of telling somebody no when you're so used to saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very empowering. It's
right.
I had to set some strict boundaries, and while it's very painful, I still feel a piece of peace. I've grown, and that's something that I'm going to continue to work on because something that's necessary in order to love yourself. You have to have those boundaries. Mm-hmm. Period.
Absolutely.
So now we have a little blank spot, and Becky and I, we came up with this game plan, and we had a couple websites that we did a little bit of research on, and there's some good stuff in that, but maybe very unprepared and very poor time management skills. Have no idea what those are. However, my partner in crime, she does. So I'm going to let her just describe a little bit of what we researched and continue this so that we just don't sit here looking pretty.
Well, the main topics that I know that we discussed looking into was well, I'm gonna be honest, one of the things we were looking at was like these steps of self-love. And while I know we had talked, while that sounds beautiful, that there was 1, 2, 3, hey, they were good, we're set for life. But I felt like within that research there were some good topics and valid things within that. And one thing that I was reading about was the title was like, pay attention to your thoughts. And what that means to me personally, I had all this just like negative emotions and negative feelings that I would ruminate on, but I didn't know like where that was coming from, like no idea. Didn't pay attention to the thoughts in my head. I would just be filled with this overwhelming like feeling. And I think once I allowed myself to realize like where is that coming from, which is a lot of work. It's not easy. It's not a like, oh, there it is, and then move on. Like,
it takes years sometimes to figure that out. You're ahead of the game.
I think that's really been important to me, and then finding out like those thoughts and like where that's coming from as well, just like trying to practice this really just like radical acceptance of that like, okay, like that's just what's, and it's okay for that to just be like myself and my journey, and I don't need to attach really a negative or positive emotion to that. It's okay for it just what it is.
Right. And I hate that it is what it is, but it is.
Yeah,
what
right.
It is. So I mean, I 100% get that. And part of the process is just like you said, letting that go. It doesn't have to be positive or negative. Just don't give it any energy.
Right.
And that's hard for me because I'm a very emotional, feeling kind of person. I feel everything. Not only my own baggage, but I feel everybody around me, their stuff. So that's something that I struggle with and continue to work on because it's just hard for me to not do that. I'm a fixer by nature. I want to fix everybody around me. I don't want anybody to have hurt feelings. I don't want any bad, even if that means I have to sacrifice my own feelings and my own growth. So that's also been a learning experience and a growing experience for me. Learning that boundary that I'm just as important as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Roberta, when you said you had to back off, you're right, because you are just as valid, as important as any of us. So kudos to you again.
For sure. And that definitely goes back to the boundaries thing, like Roberta was saying and you were saying. And it really resonated with me when you said, like, you're not worth any less than somebody else. And I think that's something that I've really struggled with as well, because I'm also a fixer by nature. And I feel like it comes from a genuinely good place, because like it comes from, I know what that feels like. I would never want anyone to go through that. So I try to overextend myself and think I have these that I don't have to fix things.
It's so hard to reconcile that.
Right. And that's not even what's needed. I think a lot of times it's not that anything needs to be fixed. It's that people need. And I think for me, getting to realize was a weight off my shoulders and probably other people's too.
I can't speak for you, but like my opinion was worthy, honestly. And it wasn't until the last 2 or 3 years, my PRN experience, that my feelings are validated. And why I can't put somebody else's feelings and make theirs more valid, because I'm not helping them. I'm not contributing to their wellness, their growth. So that's something, that I continually work on and struggle with. That's our good friend Sharon Galuski in the back. She is adult supervision for the day. Because it's our first class, she didn't want the FCC to bust in and take us out. So, and rightfully, she knows me. So it's with good reason that she did that. So anyways, you have to value your inner peace first. Otherwise, you can't really value anybody else earnestly and not 100%. And my mission for the rest of my life to help people grow, to get through humps and bumps, and to become better people. That's how I want to spend I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning. And I want that to be meaningful as it can be. And this is what I want to do. So I have to love myself and my feelings and just me, period, in order to grow and to do that and to be a better servant. So
that's what you were describing, that I had this like vid of have you ever been on an airplane and then like in the beginning of the airplane they like go through if an emergency happens, and they're talking about the airbags.
Yep.
And it says, before you help out anybody else, you have to secure yours first. And that's kind of the visual I had in my head as you were talking about that, because while that's true in an emergency where it's a physical emergency, I think that is just as it comes to your mental well-being.
That's a great idea. I never thought about that, but you're right. Put your own mask on first. You have to. Mm-hmm. So, great job. I love it.
I've got a question. Kind of off the cuff. You started. I love how you love. You've got to be willing to accept other people's love. That acceptance. What kind of action can we all take to kind of reinforce that? What can we do that can help, I don't know, begin that self-love journey?
I definitely understand the question. It's a process and it's a struggle. And it really is putting your feelings first in a greedy way or a selfish way, but in a healthy way. So for me, that's been a hard thing for me. It's been a struggle because I've always been the fixer. I've always been the mender, the one that goes in there to make sure that somebody's feeling. It meant sacrificing my own. So in order for me to love myself, I have to be able to prioritize myself. I have to whether it feels selfish. I have to put my feelings ahead of whatever else is. And that's how I do it. I don't do it. And it's still a process, and I'm still growing. I'm still learning how to do it. And there's just tools that Promise Resources gave me, and I continue to learn new things. Just, in helping other people, I didn't realize how much I was going to learn about myself and the tools that I was going to gain from doing that. So I don't have a definitive answer. That's what works for me.
I'm going to piggyback off something you said, and then I'll connect my thoughts with what you just said, Sharon. But something I heard you say was, how good eventually you found helping other people, and I agree with that 100%. I know there's times, just in the past couple months, being on the warm line, that the words I have said to my mouth to someone else, I needed to be told.
Right,
and I've had several moments like that, and I think that's has been really powerful for me. And back to what you were saying, I think what I've really found personally just so helpful, especially in the beginning stages, and I go back to it all the time because it's fluid, is just finding support. I feel like a lot of things that I've experienced, especially so young, I didn't know anybody else like that. I didn't know anybody else that had thoughts about that. Either people around me did, or I hadn't met them. And being able to find people that had the attributes that I had in myself that I was critiquing, and finding people that had those same and loving them completely, I felt like in myself, in a way, being able to accept them and love them helped me love myself, because those things that I had said, that's awful, those are bad things. When I found things, those are things that I loved in them.
Yeah. Beautiful thing. I love it.
Anything else on the chat? Anybody else?
Well, we have Jennifer, who says, "Oh, I'm feeling that 100%, Eric. Thank you for sharing that so clearly and openly." I'm not quite sure, because we've been babbling. At what point that resonated with you? But I'm thankful that it did, and that's what our whole goal here today was. It just was something that me and Becky wanted to do, and understand that it is a process, and it's constant. And I think one thing I want to say, especially to Roberta, because we're in the same age bracket, I thought I was done learning, and I wasn't ready. I didn't know that I wanted to let people back in, because I'd done it for 54 years, and it always hasn't been a good experience. And, sometimes you shut up all experiences, be it good or bad, just because you don't want that energy into it. You don't want to be let down. But we have to remind ourselves, we have to grow. We have to, as painful it is, we have to let those new experiences in. We can't shut those out and be afraid of being let down or hurt. It's so important. I think if anything else, just remind yourself that you still have the ability to grow, learn, and be more beautiful. So if that I can leave anybody with, that's what I want you to know. We grow, learn, love, and experience. So don't cheat yourselves.
I love that so much, and I especially love the part just allowing those different experiences, because like we had kind of mentioned earlier, like they're the same. They're both so valuable. They are as important and vital to like our growth. For whatever reason, I put so much weight into what is a good experience, a bad experience, and trying to shove it into either. And I feel like more often than not, there's good in everyone, and all the time they're both important. So
I learned from both experiences.
right.
So I love that. So I think that we are probably getting to the end of our session. Hopefully I will be able to do this again, because it's not a process that stops. It is one that continues. Hopefully we can have dialogue and be able to reach out to somebody, learn from somebody out there, because we learn that way. Becky and I both have had the being on the warm line, and when I went into that, and I know when she went into it, I didn't expect to learn anything. I didn't expect to receive. And those phone calls, sometimes they could be really rough, but I received so much from those calls and learned so much about myself that if I would have shut those opportunities and experiences off, I wouldn't have the growth that I've experienced today. So don't shut off, because you're cheating yourself.
You had one mantra. What is your mantra that you say to yourself that increases the self-love? Whether it is I'm worthy of love, or something that you say to yourself on a daily basis that helps get you started with that self-love that day.
I don't have one thing, because it changes daily. Just like I change daily, emotions change. But you open the door to another thing that Becky and I were talking about. And this was an idea that I stole from Lisa Kay. I'm sure you know her. But in one of her videos, she talked one of the groups that she goes to where they had a positive affirmation that really resonated, and they put it in a pill bottle, and they carry that pill bottle wherever they went, so that in their times of weakness, at their worst point, they could pull that pill bottle out, take that message, read it, and live it, and get back to that experience. So we have a little prompt, which we'll do better, because I thought this was going to be larger. But the concept is each capsule has a positive affirmation. You write what is meant to you. Definitely something that I'm going to use going forward, but it has to be a life-size version. These look like Tylenol, and I will take the Tylenol. So, but it's just such a wonderful idea, and I know that it's going to be something that will work for me, because I can get up at 8 o'clock and just grab that from the table, open it up for my day. So thank you, Lisa Kay. We're putting it out there to the universe, because I think it's a good tool. And so there it is. Just don't get this little tiny version off of Amazon. A much bigger box. It's very deceiving. So Becky is going to share a prompt that our friend Bunny gave to us for a moment to make it more realistic and a little bit more lifelike, life-size rather. So
I was thinking, speaking of setting the tone for the day, we can set the tone for the day, still afternoon.
Wonderful. You're going to rock this daggone day.
This says, love is in the moment.
Absolutely.
You want to do
I do. And, it doesn't have to be a weird thing. It's just whenever you have a week. So my strength comes from inner. And inner love. I'm sorry. And it's in red, and I couldn't read it. But what a perfect message, because this is what it's all about, and this is what our conversation is about today. So, thank you, Jesus.
It says, "Life is short, so start."
Amen.
I couldn't think of a better way to end this.
Absolutely.
Everybody get out there and start that self-love process. I really appreciate you all and your expertise today. Based in what you've gone through, and based in the love that you have for yourselves, but especially for all others. So I want to thank you all.
We thank you for allowing us to be able to do it, honestly. Yeah, everybody out there, have a wonderful day. Just love yourself. If you can't love you, we'll love you.
There you go.
Have a great day.